Hello and welcome to Camp Xbox, where we talk about all things Xbox from the original to the Series X, and today we are talking about Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, the video game based on the movie of the same name. It was released May 4th, 2005 in North America, 10 days before the US premiere of the film itself. It was released for the PS2, Game Boy Advance, DS, and of course the Xbox. And it is backwards compatible for all Xbox One and Series consoles, and all footage today was captured on the Series X. So yes, this is another review on this channel of a Star Wars game on the original Xbox, which isn't all that crazy when you think about just how many Star Wars games came out for the original Xbox. There were 14 Star Wars games during its lifetime, so if you were a Star Wars fan, like I was, when I owned this console as a kid, you had so much to choose from. Yet a lot of them were spin-off titles or were only loosely related to the movies. Yet with this release, it was an attempt to take the movie and distill it down to video game form. Publisher LucasArts and developer The Collective got together and constructed not only a way to promote the new movie, but something fun and playable. Movie games usually have a bad stigma to them, and where this game is not perfect or amazing by any means, it's a surprisingly well-crafted movie game. So in this game, you follow the exact plot of the movie, but mainly multiple levels of some action scenes. The beginning scene with Anakin and Obi-Wan confronting Count Dooku is stretched out over a lot of levels. Same with the fight with General Grievous, and it all comes to a head with that excellent fight in Mustafar. You get clips from the movies along the way, and let me say, this came out before the film, so in an attempt to hide spoilers, there's a lot of cutaways from specific scenes, so it can feel a bit odd if you've seen the movies, but seeing it here, it all flows together pretty well. It's hard to really say much about the story, other than I think it does a good job of handling it in video game form. It takes a lot of the big set pieces and stretches them into a great format. It's nice to see the cutscenes, and I think seeing all of this come together really works because this is the prequel film that, in my eyes, is the best one, and it probably has the most interesting plot. The only gripe I can really take out of this experience is that the level design is quite closed off. It all feels like tight corridors and invisible walls. It definitely has a streamlined path for you to take, and it doesn't mask it very well. And sometimes the camera will be placed in very odd places, and you'll be seeing things out of perspective, and things will be hitting you from off camera, and it can get a little annoying. Yet I do find the look and feeling of these levels to be well put together. I feel like this is a cleaned up, well-designed version of the Star Wars universe. I love a lot of the small details just in building design and seeing how some of the scenes from the film work in a 3D space, and it's pretty cool. So even if it is linear, I still found these levels to be quite enjoyable. This is even though the gameplay itself can be quite repetitive. So you have a select few amount of moves which can combo together to attack enemies. It's pretty much what you would expect from this era's third-person action games. You kill waves of enemies, may it be droids or clones, and lay them out with your specific combos for specific enemies. Some might have shields, while others might be just weak to lightsabers. There's not a lot of variety, but I found most enemies took some level of thought to kill, which I can appreciate because that means it's not entirely mindless. Yet besides a few actions that just take one button to solve, this is your gameplay for the most part. This game took me around 5 hours to complete, so it's short enough where I never really got tired of it, but I do wish that there was maybe a bit more variety along the way. But one interesting thing is that there is XP that you gain in this game to make you stronger, and you can put those into specific moves that you want to increase their power. So this game implements RPG features, which is an interesting thing that enhances this experience and makes this movie game a little more elevated. They do attempt to add variety, and I think this is my favorite part of the game, and that's with its boss battles. The boss battles are set up in almost a fighting game style, where you gain more control of your moves and blocks, and each character has health bars. You fight all of the famous good guys as Anakin and all of the famous bad guys as Obi-Wan. So you get the clear-cut variety on who you fight. And all of these boss battles are long and surprisingly strategic. You cannot button mash your way through these. You have to block and think of when you can strike. It's actually really cool to play a Star Wars fighting game on the Xbox, and it even offers a multiplayer mode where you can select characters and fight each other with a local friend. It's such a good idea, and it's done so well here. Outside of the sameness of the other levels, here we get something entirely unique and really fun to play. I think the fighting mode of this is definitely worth checking out if you check out anything from this game. I think graphically this game looks great. As mentioned before, all of the environments are well detailed, and I liked all of the character models. I really ran into no graphical issues, and overall it does a great job of setting up that Star Wars look and feel. Couple this with the incredible soundtrack. It's John Williams' score. It's all songs from the prequel trilogy, so it's incredible all around. It captures that feeling that you want from an interactive Star Wars video game experience. I won't say though that there is a lot of replay value here, but you do unlock bonus missions where you can play as other characters like General Grievous, which is a nice additional touch along with a co-op mode and that fighting game mode that I mentioned before. I think this would make for a great time with multiple people, especially with its shorter 5-hour runtime. It's a surprisingly well done movie tie-in game. This isn't a time where movie tie-in games were usually not the best products, or at least were not seen in that way. I do think it suffers a little bit with repetition, but does a good job of making an entertaining game out of the movie plot. It stretches scenes out and creates fun, action-packed level design, mixed with really neat boss battles, and let me say, you really gotta check these out. This game usually pops up when talking about good movie games, and I'm happy to say, I think it belongs in that talk, flaws and all. In contemporary reviews at the time, it did get a mixed reception, with places like Edge and Eurogamer calling it kind of a boring game. But magazines like this channel's favorite, Official Xbox Magazine, gave it a solid rating of 7.8, noting its flaws but understanding that it's a fun, action-packed game, and honestly, I couldn't agree more with this review. And finally, on my rankings list of original Xbox games I've covered on the channel, Episode 3 enters in at number 29. I do think I enjoyed it more than Sega GT with its shorter action-packed experience, but Second Sight has a really cool original video game story, and I really appreciate that. So that wraps it up for today. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Also comment below if you have any thoughts or feelings or recommendations. But I will see you here next time at Camp Xbox.